Welcome back to the Red Bill Performance channel. Now we're gonna get the engine rotated over and we're gonna get this oil pan off so we can start getting that done. We'll get the oil pan off, get that surface cleaned up. We'll take our rear main plate here. We'll get this seal off of it, get that plate cleaned up. Then we can go about getting the new rear main on, oil pan, all that stuff. So at least the bottom end of this will be completely done. Then as soon as our injectors get here, we can do the fuel system. Plus we got a 4-line kit coming too now, where we can where it's gonna have 4 fuel lines running to each port. So complete revamp of the fuel system. It's gonna be cool. Well, this was a process, but it's over now. Let's get this dipstick off. Pliers are your friends. Ahoy! Let's get that loose. So now we can take the bolts out of the oil pan. That should be free enough to get it out. And we're gonna have to work on resealing that because as you can tell, it was of the leaking variety. All right, let's get all these bolts out, get the pan off, see exactly what we're getting into here. Alrighty then. Let's see how difficult this is gonna be. See how well it's sealed on here. Oh yeah, she is. She is sealed. Hey, get my fingers out there. Alrighty. She's sealed on there pretty good. Alright, here she comes. After several minutes of playing with it, it's finally breaking its seal. Whew! That took a little bit of work. And things have happened. Well, as you can see, finally got the truck outside. Got some pressure washing done to it. Some dead grazing. Letting it dry now, probably overnight. And you can definitely see a lot more of the cancer. Got some of it back here on the firewall right here. We're gonna try and address some of that before it gets any worse, because it's getting pretty bad, but it ain't all the way through just yet. So we need to get some cancer treatment up here and then get some paint on it. And then as far as the frame, we got some big chunkies off of it. Still some more back here that needs to be knocked out and, you know, broke loose from the frame. But she has definitely got the pit. She definitely has the rust, but you know, this ain't the first time we've been in here going over this truck. Definitely not the first time. But we're getting caught up. We're getting there with it, you know. Yeah, got some chunkiness right there to pull out of there. But yeah, like I said, it's getting closer. Is that billet? Shoot, dang. Anywho, back inside, we can look at the real magic. Well, things have happened here as well. Nothing major, you know, y'all ain't missed nothing of. I just had to get it off the engine stand here so I can get to this access to this back so we can do the rear main seal. And I mean, outside of getting it off the engine stand and doing a little cleaning around the shop, only thing y'all missed is, well, just that, a lot of cleaning. You know, I had to buff all the silicone off of the oil pan because there is no gasket, it's all silicone. Had to buff that off. Had to get this all buffed up and cleaned up. This is the rear main seal plate. Rear main seal bolt on here. And this plate goes on there and does a thing with a thing about a thing for a thing. They just kind of do things together. Got the new rear main in there. We're about ready to break that out because we got to put the wear sleeve on here. And got a block heater coming because that pin in there is rusted, something awful. So we're going to replace that just so we ain't got to worry about it not working in the future. But you know, it was just a lot of cleaning. That's all that's been taking place here, is just a whole lot of cleaning. And like pretty much for this rail here, in order to keep the engine clean, I took my little buffer, and as I was buffing, I just had this following it, you know, with the rotation feeding into it. I just had it right on it, just following it. And you know, as I buffed, I shot back, and once I got it all done, I got that, you know, got out my brake cleaner, my rag, gave everything a nice wipe down. Now you still do get a little bit of stuff in the engine. I mean, it's impossible to keep it absolutely spotless, but that's where you got to come back, do an inspection, you know, break out all your lights, get in here with rags, clean things, wipe things, inspect things, just keep everything as sanitary as possible. I mean, that's the main goal here, really, ain't it? Just keep this bits here clean and happy. And then, you know, once I got everything clean, got all the surfaces clean, I got a little ahead of myself. I got a little antsy, you know. Forgot to grab the camera and get to recording. You know, cause right here we got a wear sleeve on the crank, and these wear sleeves are a press fit. You know, they go on there and then they're a real, you know, if you don't know what you're doing, they're a real bear to get off. But as you can see, this wear sleeve seems to have some lines in it, some like gouges, and well, it comes right off. Well, that's because that one is no longer a bear, and I'll show you how I did it. Like I said, I meant to record this so there's believers out there, you know, but I just got antsy, got a little ahead of myself. What you want is a nice sharp chisel. If you got a sharp chisel, what you'll do, and you want one that's just as wide, and I mean, this is almost there. It needs to be a little wider. But anyway, you get a nice sharp chisel, and you just come in and you give her a good, you know, whack. And then see, it's got one line there, and you finish the line across it. And oh, did you see it move right there? It moved real good right there. Pretty much what you want to do is get you a line whacked all the way across her. Nice deep gouge and everything, nice sharp chisel. And what that's doing effectively, every time you do it, it's stretching this ring and making it bigger and bigger and bigger. See, look, now it's real floppy. Now it's got all kinds of play. And I mean, that's all you're doing. Take your chisel, you knock some lines in it, it'll stretch out your wear ring, and then you can take it off and replace it. And manana. And this, they don't come with wear rings on them, in case anybody wondering. These do not come with wear rings. It just, we've already put a rear main seal on it, and we're doing another one. So now we have to apply another wear sleeve. And I'm going to show y'all the trick to putting on these wear rings that I did not use the last time I did this, because I was a simpleton way back then. And while I am still a simpleton, I like to think that I am less of a simpleton now. Like I said, I like to think that I am. I'm not saying that I am. But back then, I was definitely a simpleton. Yeah. And the factory rear main seal that was on there, it wore a pretty nice groove down in there. It's got a real nice groove worn into it. And that is from the factory seal, or at least where the factory seal rides anyway. But anywho, I'm gonna get me a little more brake cleaner here, give that a good wipe down. This engine just keeps bleeding oil. It won't stop it. Anywho, now that we got this all nice and clean, ain't got no full ran material. Look at that, squeaky clean. Alright, got no full ran material on it. We're gonna get out our new wear sleeve that is appropriately placed on our new rear main seal. Well, not on, but inside of our new rear main. Beautiful thing it is. Anyway, right here is the new wear sleeve. And see, the old wear sleeve, I actually put it on too far. I overset it. That's because I went about putting it on in the wrong fashion. And see, I got it all the way down where it was flush on the surface. And that's not what you need to do. And see, it's got a tapered lip. This tapered lip goes out towards you. That helps put, you know, the new seal on, obviously. Just stay there. Can you stay there? You probably won't, but try. All right. Now see here, you want all the bolts that hold on the flywheel, and you'll drop one. Everyone will do that. Don't worry about it. It's not even a major issue, but everybody will drop one. And then you want this nifty spacer plate here that comes on said Powerstroke. You'll line up your dowel pin. Oof, hang on. I'm gonna need to get a bolt free, maybe two. There we go. And you want to start this thing on even. You don't want it to be all, you know, less than even. And see, the spacer that comes on the truck is your best tool to drive this wear ring on and set it perfectly in place. And now some of you out there might be lucky enough to use power tools and run this on. I don't think I am, so I'm gonna use a trusty ratchet. And now with my trusty ratchet, I'm going to attempt to evenly apply the wear ring. And with that groove that's in here, and then just the natural wear lines that are in it, they will help you keep track of where you're at. Oh Lord, look at the metal on that. So, just take your time, and you'll know when you're getting in a bind because, well, the bolts will get tight. Now, these bolt holes in the crank are blind. So once you get to a certain point, you gotta stop because the bolts are gonna bottom out. Because, you know, these bolts are intended to have this metal plate along with the flywheel as additional, you know, tolerance. So either you'll have to use the full stack to press this on, or you'll have to get you some washers, or spacers, not really washers. I'm using just some big nuts. It's gonna be my spacer. Now I'm gonna give it a few ugga-duggas and I'm gonna move the bolts around from place to place just to make sure this thing is fully seated. All right, I think she is firmly seated in place now. Oh, get off her. Yep, that looks like it. As you can tell, that wear ring is exactly where it needs to be. Because, well, it just has to be. Because that's where this sits. That's where it has to be. Like I said, last time I did this, oh God, if I can get this plate off. Like I was saying, last time I did this, I took this ring and I drove it on even further back than where it is right now. And the new rear main that is made to go with this wear sleeve is a little bit more offset, so it just didn't work. Like, it's gotta be right in that particular spot. All right, now once you have this wear seal on here, we can put the plate on. Make sure this surface and the sealing surface of the plate, both are completely contaminant free. No oil, no nothing of that nature. Now we're going to put some silicone around this and at these 3 points right here. Now we're gonna get this plate up and on here. If I can get silicone open. There we go. We're gonna get this plate up and on there, and then we're gonna get the rear main put on. There it is. Then we'll get the rear main put on. All right, once you got your plate all smooshed up, make sure you have at least 2 bolts with you. And you have 2 alignment pins here that, oh no, I got the schmoo on my light. Okay, schmoo is still all right. All right, yeah, you got 2 alignment pins here, and they will go in these center holes here. There it goes, finally. There it is. All right. That is on there. I get 2 of my bolts in, if I can do that. The angle of the engine is not. The angle of the dangle is not helping. Are these the right bolts? That is the $1,000,000 question. Ah, rear main. Yes, here they are. Those were not the right bolts that I had in my hand. These are the correct bolts to put the rear main on. Now, once you get all the bolts in, don't tighten them yet. You leave them all loose because the plate will still shift just a little bit, like the rear main seal will do with the final alignment. Because dowel pins, these dowel pins anyway, have a little slop in them, and there's still a little bit of slop for the bolt though. So get the rear main on, get it bolted down tight, and then start bolting down the plate. And remember, it's important to make sure all your surfaces are indeed contaminant free. Probably about as good as it's gonna get. All right, got the rear main prepped to go on. Let's see if we can get it on here. Here's our 2 alignment pins. All right, so it goes just like this. Oh yeah, it's gonna be interesting with this engine moving around. Gotta give it a little stretch so I don't pinch it. Ah, like a glove. And see, it's got a nice lip sticking out back here. Well, it would if this side here was on, which it is not. There it goes. Now, see, has a nice lip sticking out past the seal. All of that is beautifully placed. Now all we gotta do is get some hardware in this thing, get it tightened down, and this job will be complete. These two bottom bolts are through bolts. Now these two bottom ones, which are top ones right now because the engine's upside down, are through bolts, so make sure you give them a healthy dose of the silicone on the threads. So maybe, just maybe, they won't leak. Now, these are all 8mm bolts, so don't go all Jacques Cousteau on them, okay? Just give them, like I had the impact turned down, it was on its low ugga-duggas, and now I'm gonna go back over them and just kind of feel them by hand. Oh yeah. Honestly, one on that impact is really close to what these small fasteners need. All right, well, I'm gonna get the adapter plate, mid plate, whatever you want to call it. That thing right there, it's aluminum, and the starter bolts too. I'm gonna get it back on here. I'm gonna get the engine, get it back on the engine stand, and then we'll get the oil pan on it. And we can rotate the motor over, and the lower half will be done. Like a glove. Engine stand engaged. Oh yeah. Okay, I gave everything else one more wipe down with brake cleaner and a rag just to make sure there's no oil residue on it, because oil residue will not let the silicone bond. It will cause a leak. So you have to make sure your surface is oil free. And then right here on these seams, I put a dollop of oil, of silicone, and then right where it makes these creases, I put in some extra silicone there. Because for one, this plate and this plate are a little lower than the engine's level, and that's them off their dowel pins and stuff. Like, this ain't like an LS. An LS, you gotta put straight edges on it and get everything lined up, true, flush, perfect, this, that, bing, bada boom, bada bing, bada bing, hey, baby. This is not like that. The 7.3, they use silicone to fill in said imperfections. Because we never even took this front cover off, like never. And it is clearly lower surface than the block. And that's at factory height, or at least what we assume to be factory height. And then it was the same thing with this rear plate. We had never took it off, and it was at a lower height than the block. So it kind of has a step down to it and a step down to the front plate. So you just got to be really liberal with the silicone, which is what we've done here. And I went with a smear technique on the sides, which is what I did last time, and the sides were sealed perfectly. It did seem like it had like a little seep on the front and rears and these dips. And that's why I leave it beaded up, so it kind of acts like a China wall if you're doing, you know, the China walls on a small block Chevy or big block Chevy. You know, when you put the intake on, you have to put a nice big thick bead of silicone for the intake to seal on. It's kind of the same premise that I'm going with here. You know, I want the silicone nice and tall so it can go where it needs to go. That is my thought. And then here's the dipstick bone that we're gonna go ahead and put in, because I'd almost forgot to do. Be real interesting trying to do this with, you know, oil pan on the engine. And you know, it's got a little indicator here, so you can't really put it in the wrong spot. You know, it kind of is what it is. And then I rubbed a little bit of silicone there, and I kind of covered the O-ring in silicone because it's hardened quite a bit and it's not as forgiving as it used to be. And it was leaking here, so I'm gonna make sure I really torque down on this one this time. Now, I can't remember if it was straight up where it needed to be or if it needed to be in that notch. Pretty sure it was that notch. Almost positive it was that notch. Almost positive it was tilted forward. Oh well, if it's not, we will make it work. I'll make it work. How about that? If it's not right, I will make it work. These channel locks are almost not big enough to do this operation. In reality, they're not. These channel locks, I think, are happy to do the job. Good and tight. Almost positive that was at that forward angle. I don't think it was straight up and down. Oofta. And the dipstick is just an O-ring seal. It just slides down in there and is retained. Yeah, it's gotta be it, because if it was straight up and down, it'd be way back here. Yeah. So yeah, forward position, you know, because I pay attention. I know what I'm doing. All right, let's get this on here. Big fancy. Oh, this thing is slick. It's big and it's sleek. Oh no! Ah! Need some emergency silicone, I messed up. I'm gonna put a little more on that corner. All right, let's not do that again. All right, we got some nice squish up here. We got some nice squish back here. Let's get some bolts in this thing, get her torqued down. And a lot of my oil pans, I like to kind of like wiggle them and press them and get them real good, but where I'm trying to leave a nice thick, tight bead on the front and back, I'm not gonna do that on this said oil pan. I'm just gonna move it as little as I can to get the bolts in, which might be more than I want to move it. there it is. All tightened down and good. I got a little bit of messiness right there. Oofda. But outside of that, it's down on there. All the bolts are tight. It's fully seated down. Did have to wrestle with it a little bit. I had to get the pry bar up here and kind of do some adjusting and get all the bolts going in smooth and stuff like that. But, you know, it probably got a little warped in the removal process because she was sealed on there tight. I had to really go around and beat all the way around it and then really pry on it to get it to come off of her. It was definitely sealed on good. And hopefully it seals on good again. But that's all done. We're gonna get it rotated over. And of course, you'd roll it over and it would dump even more oil out of the filter housing. I mean, this thing has done puked 12 gallons of oil out of this engine. I mean, I know I haven't showed it, but I have done cleaned the floor up. I've done changed the mats out on this tray like 8 times. And antifreeze and oil just keep pouring out of this thing. Like, I mean, just keep pouring out of it. I just don't understand. But I guess I don't have to. But it doesn't matter, because either way, that is a wrap for today. We're gonna call it, we're done, we're over it. Got the manifolds done, they're ported, they're bolted on there, everything's lined up and happy. They're soaked in oil right now, I have to take care of that later. Oil pans on it, sealed up beautifully. Timing covers on it, looks just, you know, foxy. I mean, look at that thing, that is a good looking rear main right there. I mean, just the bottom half's done, the side half's done, the back half's done. Just so many halves. Like, you add up all the halves, we got 4 holes here. Promise you, you'll see. Just wait, it's coming. Now, we're just waiting on injectors. As soon as, and we got a 4-line fuel kit from a CNC fabrication coming in, where it just has this line that feeds the head here and this line that feeds the head here. And they deadhead at the plugs. Well, that's no longer going to be a thing. We're going to have like 2 T-junctions, I think, here. Have a line feeding here, a line pushing here, a line pushing there, and a line pushing there. And then I got the high flow fittings from Riff Raff Diesel that pop here. You can see right there, see where that plug is? There's a passageway that goes down to that. You pull out that plug, you pull out that plug there, and that one, same thing up there. You put in those Riff Raff ones, they're high flow for that 90-degree turn there. Because why they have to incorporate it into the bolt, I don't know. I don't know why it couldn't just been a passage that went down. Like, I understand why these plugs are here, because they had to through drill the head. I get that, I understand that, makes sense. I don't know why they had to actually incorporate them into the actual fueling process. See, it's, if I can open it, they're kind of like a banjo bolt that goes in there. And see, the O-ring goes back here, you know, in about this area, seals it, keeps it from leaking out on the good old Mother Earth. See, it's like a banjo style bolt. Not exactly sure why they did it that way, but you know, they did, so it is what it is. You know, so we're gonna have fuel line feeding here, 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 and then here. And the ones that are coming aren't these O-ring style. Like, these ain't even an O-ring style. Like, the line has a flange on it, and that flange goes down into this fitting. And then it has a square rubber seal that goes behind that flange. And then this nut tightens down on that rubber flange, on that rubber seal. And that rubber seal is what holds these lines in. See, there, you can move them. That rubber seal is what seals it and holds the line in place. And it's just not that great. Like, literally, like, 20, 25,000 miles, they just start leaking. Like, I don't know, they just start leaking. At least that's been our experience with this one. And we also had we had another 7.3 that was a farm truck. Like, we've had a few of them, and these have just always leaked. We've always had problems with them. There's no good. Anyway, the line kit we got coming from Riff Raff Diesel takes care of that. It puts in a solid fitting with, you know, a JIC flare fitting hose that screws to it and tightens down. You don't have the leak problem anymore. It's done. It's over. As long as the line's tight, it's not leaking. You're good. You're golden. And like I said, we're going to be feeding at all 4 corners, so it's going to have more fuel for the bigger injectors. It's just, the truck's going to be happy. It's going to love it. I know I'm getting a little long-winded here. Let me just get back in the bag. All right, just get in there. Anyway, lay down there. So yeah, that's saying, that wraps it up for this video. I mean, we're done. We're over, we're cooked, we're finite. Got to do some more cleaning on this thing because oil's everywhere. But we're just shut down for now. We're on hold till the injectors and the fuel line kit comes in. Once the injectors and the fuel line kit arrive, we can pull off the valve covers. We can do injectors, glow plugs, throw in the studs, do the fuel lines, and then we can put on our delete pedestal. And then the engine can go back in the truck. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, because the engine will be done. And you know, the H-pop. Can't forget about the high pressure oil pump. We got a new one of those. We got an adrenaline. That's going to. We got the better lines. We got the crossover equalizer line for it. So yeah, golden, beautiful. Anyway, rant done. Love y'all. Been great having you. I've had a good time. It's been exciting up to this point, at least for me anyway. A little aggravating. Is what it is. But thank y'all for stopping by. Leave a like and a comment down below. And I'll catch you on the next one.